Hi there. Hope your day has been good. Welcome back to our grammar series, and today we are going to be looking at a massive level up for your English. That is in reference to the past perfect continuous tense, all right? That is our grammar tool number 8, and that is the topic for today. What is it? Past perfect continuous. Great. Think of this as the background story tense. Use this when you want to show that an action was grinding away for a long time before another past moment happened. So, again to reinforce, you're going to use this tense when you want to show that an action was happening for a long time, really. That is before another past moment occurred. All right? And real life situations where you will be using this particular tense is pretty much in regards to showing duration before a past event. For example, using words like for and since. All right. Explaining a past result. That is, if you're tired, doing a particular activity, angry, or even stressed. Storytelling with background plus your favorite thing to understand is time. All right. Now look at the section 2. This is your decision trigger. As I told you, decision trigger is nothing but to understand when to use this particular tense. And we are dealing with past perfect continuous tense for today. All right. That is our topic, right? What is our topic? Past perfect continuous. So you really need to remember this as this form, okay? PPC. But this time it is past perfect continuous, not present perfect continuous. It is past perfect continuous. All right, great. So, when do you use it or when to use it? Also known as the decision trigger. When are you going to take the decision to use past perfect continuous as your communication tools? So, if you have 2 points in the past and you want to show the duration, in the sense, the sweat or the effort, the time that you have spent to do a particular activity, you are going to use this particular tool. And what is the tool? The past perfect continuous tense. If you have two past points, that is past before past, in the sense there are two activities that are going on. All right, there is an activity that has started for a long time and it's going on, you need to use past perfect continuous. Or if you want to show how long the earlier action continued, keep that also in mind. You also can look at using words like for, since, all day, for hours. So all these words kind of just look at using one factor, and that is your time. Okay, time or duration. All right, that is what we need to keep in mind. So whenever you're looking at using past perfect continuous, you need to keep in mind that your actions are very important and they have to be long standing. These actions have to kind of go on for a long time in the past as well, when another action has interrupted that long standing activity that you were trying to do. Okay, so it's also used when you want to explain a past condition, pretty much a result, using this phrase, that's why. Okay, that's why. So let's look at a even more important section is don't use it when. When do you look at not using this? All right, you pretty much should not use past perfect continuous when you only want to show a action that has completed totally, like show completion of a particular activity or a particular action that has taken place. So there you use past perfect tense. I spoke about this in the last session. You don't want to use duration. When you do not want to use duration as a part of the process when you're speaking or compiling sentences, you use simple past or past perfect, but not past perfect continuous. Okay, it's a single short action When the action itself is very short, you're not going to you know that this action is not going to be continued, right? So obviously when there is no word like continuous in the sentence, you're not going to use past perfect continuous. Great. A short question or a shortcut question that you're going to pretty much ask yourself when you're looking at using this particular tool is, am I showing a sense of duration in my sentence before another past event? If yes, then you're going to be using past perfect continuous. If no, you're pretty much looking at using past perfect or simple past only. All right. Keep an eye out for the use of duration in the process of articulating your sentences when you're using this particular tense, that is past perfect continuous. Now let's look at the third section for today, and that is in reference to meaning first. What do you mean by meaning first? Meaning first is when you look at past perfect continuous itself, do not look at it as some kind of a formula or something that you really need to memorize. Let's just look at the meaning itself. That is past perfect and continuous. It was continuing before a past moment. See, past perfect. Past perfect means what? Some action that had been continuing before a past moment. All right, that is what this word continuous refers to. Okay, it was continuing before that past moment. That is what you need to understand here. And it had been happening for some time. Again, to reinforce this particular tense uses a very important word to keep in mind, and that is this. And what is this? Duration. All right, duration. Always remember, when you are looking at using past perfect continuous as your communication tool, you need to keep duration um, in your mind. All right, so that means it had been happening for quite some time. It's not an immediate action that has already finished or completed. That point of time you'll be using only simple past or past perfect even. But when your action has it's taking some time and it's not yet completing and it's kind of continuing, you're looking at using past perfect continuous. I think I'm clear here. So moving ahead, you also can be using this particular tense when your action is pretty long standing. That is, another past event has to interrupt the ongoing action. All right, that's something that you need to understand further on, because I will be giving you some examples, and I think there you can understand at a deeper level as well. So feeling and intention, timeline clarity is pretty much evident when you use past perfect continuous as your grammatical tool. And again, to let you know that this particular tense only deals with focus on duration. All right, and what happens is you kind of get into a mode wherein your storytelling, the storytelling habit, or I can say the theory of putting a story kind of becomes natural. All right, so let's look at a mini example before I kind of give you the builder form of this particular tense. So the example is, I had been studying for 2 hours. So there is an action that is happening here, all right, before there's another action that interrupted this person studying. All right, I think I'm pretty clear here. Now you will be able to understand what I'm talking about. Look at the screen, please. When you look at this sentence, I had been studying for 2 hours before you called, it means that this particular person has been studying for 2 hours, right? He's doing a particular action, and it is in the verb is in the ing form. The verb, that is study, obviously is in the ing form. So continuous action. So I had been studying for 2 hours. It's not yet completed, but there is a person who actually called this particular person who's studying, and it has been interrupted. I think it's clear. I think it's clear. So I had been studying for 2 hours before you called. So this person has been interrupted by this particular person calling in and disturbing this guy. All right. Now that is what it means when we are talking in terms of past perfect continuous. All right, great. Now let's look at a very important section for today, that is build the sentence. What do you understand when I kind of say build the sentence? Because I think we already are at the end of the past series as well after today. So I think you know, or in my opinion, I think you know that what build the sentence actually means. It is a formula. All right, formula. So what does the formula say? Don't let the name scare you, guys. It's just something that you really need to keep in mind when you talk about tenses. It's okay if you do not want to memorize it, but as and when we go on into this particular lesson for today, you will understand how easy it is to really articulate your sentences in terms of using a particular tense. Okay, so your formula is subject plus had been. Okay, had been is your auxiliary verb in action here. So subject plus had been plus verb in the ing form. And why do you think there is an ing here, my friends? Because obviously it is a scene where a action is continuing for a long time. Again, I told you it is duration based, and this particular point of time you need to understand. When you see continuous in the tense table, it means the verb is befriending in the sense is kind of making friends with this particular word, and that is ing. All right, I think I'm pretty clear here. Okay, so your formula is subject plus had been plus verb in the ing form, because obviously your tense calls for it. Past perfect continuous. So continuous is ing form, right? Verb takes on the ing form. That's all. All right. Plus, what are you going to look at? Using those duration words plus the time frame. All right, along with your before and when. These words are also very important when you're looking at using these perfect tenses. All right, plus in past event. Let's look at a full blown example for today. I had been working for 3 hours before the meeting started. What happened? This person had been working for 3 hours. So there's already an action that is going on, continuing before a particular action interrupted this person working for 3 hours, right? So the meeting started only before this person was working for 3 hours, and then the meeting started. So there are two particular actions interrupting each other. So when there is a sense of interruption in the sentence, you pretty much know that there are two actions. So this falls in the range of using those perfect tenses. All right. So past perfect continuous is our friend here. Let's look at the key parts for some detailing. Part 1 obviously is subject. Part 2 is our auxiliary verb. However, here it is had been because it is past perfect continuous. Verb is in the ing form again because we are using the continuous tense. So verb plus ing. Part 4 is the duration. Why? Because we are using words like for and since for the articulation. And part 5 is the second past action, that is before someone calling or before someone entering, or when someone interrupted some kind of an action, right? Great. Let's quickly look at the negative format. What do you mean by negative form? It's not like the whole thing is negative and it's giving a negative vibe. That's not the point. Negative form is somewhere, it's a point where you need to understand that you're bringing in this word not. Okay, so the format remains the same. However, you have a new addition, and that is not. Not. Okay, look at the form. It is subject plus hadn't been again is a contraction. Hadn't can be opened up to had not, as simple as that. A negative form. Why am I telling you this negative form is important is because when we go deeper into the lesson, there is a practice ladder wherein you have to form your own sentences using this negative form as well. Okay, so subject plus had not been verb in the ing form. This is the format for the negative form. So what is the example? What is the example? I hadn't been sleeping well, in the sense I had not been sleeping well. Okay, great. Let's look at the question form. Again, I just wanted to tell you the question form. The question form is something that you really need to understand. There's one important thing that you need to understand really. Here, the subject, okay, the subject which always takes the primary position, even under the negative form or the mother builder sentence form, the subject takes the primary position. However, when you come to the question form, the subject is moved to the second place, and the auxiliary verb, kind of moves to the first place, and your been moves to the third place. All right. So basically, your builder form, this particular builder form, all right, that is subject had been plus verb in the ing form, kind of changes here in the question format. All right. What happens? Your auxiliary verbs moves to the first primary position, then followed by your subject, and then your been comes after your subject, and then the verb in the ing form. Verb in the ing form is a must because it's a continuous tense, right? Right? So that is what it's important. So let's look at the example. Had, subject is you, and been has taken the third place. Waiting. Waiting is the verb in the ing form. So had you been waiting long? All right. Had you been waiting for a long time? That also can be a question. Great. Quickly, let us look at the three core patterns for today, because these are something also where it's, most common uses, in the sense these three core patterns can be used by different levels of English, in the sense people who are at the basic level also can understand what I mean by these patterns as well. Intermediate users also can go ahead and revamp the way they kind of articulate these sentences. All right. Also, you can look at using a combination of tenses and talking about the same tense but still combining it with some other tenses as well. So let's look at it to get a better understanding. So the pattern one is basic. It talks only about duration before a past moment. That means I had been verbing. Verbing is not a word. Verbing is in the sense you have to kind of put in the verb here, whatever verb you want to really use. So plus you're going to look at using for or since as your choice of words. Plus again the time or the duration, I already told you. Past perfect continuous means it is duration prone. And that's something that you really need to wrap your heads around by now. So, I had been learning. Learning, verbing is learning. Verb here is learn, taking in the ing form. All right. So, I had been learning English for 6 months. For 6 months' time. She had been working since morning. All right. Again, to reinforce, for is used when the duration is for a longer. Okay, when the duration is longer, you're looking at using for as a choice word. However, when you're looking at using since, it means there's a starting point of that activity, in the sense like this is short, the time is pretty much short. So she had been working since morning. Okay, it's pretty much in reference to something that has happened recently when you're looking at using since. Okay, great. Now, let's look at the pattern 2. That's the most useful, because we are kind of looking at using before and by the time as choice words. So, by the time, look at the pattern. It is by the time, use the word phrase by the time, then used past simple, and then you use had been plus verb in the ing form. Guys, you really need to kind of pause the video here if you're not understanding the pattern, because that is very important. All right. So, what am I saying? You have to use this by the time plus your past simple, and then comes your had been and verb in the ing form. Like by the time I reached, this is past simple, they had been waiting, this is your past perfect continuous tense till here. Okay. Okay, so this is a combination of two tenses here. So by the time I reached, past simple one tense, and then had been is your, had been plus the verb in the ing form is your past perfect continuous tense. So this is a pattern too, but this can be used by intermediate users as well. Intermediate users of English, or the way they advance towards speaking their particular, language. So that is what I'm kind of letting you know, that you also can combine two tenses as well. So by the time I reached till here, it is your simple past. They had been waiting. Again, your past perfect continuous for 20 minutes. You're adding a time frame. Great. Now, by the time the class started, ed is simple past. I had been traveling. Again, past perfect continuous for 5 hours. All right, this is pattern 2 for you. Great. Let's look at pattern number 3. So I had been, any of your verb in the ing form. That's why you're going to give a result here. What am I saying? You're going to kind of talk about a result here. That is, I had been running. That's why I was tired. Okay. She had been crying. That's why her eyes were red. Were past tense. All right. So till here it is past perfect continuous. Here you're just going to kind of use another tense, and that is also in related to past itself. Where. All right. Great. So a bonus fluency pattern for you today is using words like all day and all night. Like, I had been working all day before I slept. Simple past itself. I slept. And now in combination with your past perfect continuous. Pretty easy to use, right? These are the three simple core patterns that we came up at GK Pro Academy. Try to kind of pause the video every time I draw this icon and relate with the concept, and please make up your own sentences, or better than that, you can just go ahead and read all these sentences aloud. Great. Let's look at some examples for today. All right, let's look at some examples for today. And what are the examples? Daily life examples. Okay, that's something that we really need to understand, that we are looking at using all these examples in our daily life, right? So how what are the sentences? I had been cooking for an hour. For, see, for an hour, so this is a short duration. That is when you're looking at using for. So I had been cooking for an hour before the guests arrived. It's perfectly a past perfect continuous tense sentence. We had been waiting for 30 minutes before the bus came. So this bus has come and it has interrupted these people. In the sense, there is one action that is interrupting another action. So basically that is your trigger point to understand, or it's basically a hint to understand whether a person is using ppc, that is past perfect continuous, or not. Work and office. I had been preparing the report all day before the presentation. Very good. They had been discussing for a long time before the decision came. All right. Great. Now, social and WhatsApp. Sorry, I had been sleeping. Okay, sometimes we kind of use these short sentences in order to, tell someone that we were busy doing something, but however, we kind of don't realize that we are talking in this particular tense. All right, so that is what this is. I had been calling you for 10 minutes. All right, that's the second example for today. A contrast corner. This tense, past perfect continuous, is pretty much, what can I say, confused with simple past. I'm sorry, with past perfect or simple past as well. So let's look at past perfect. Earlier action that has completed, a focus that has been done. I already spoke about this in the last session. You really have to go and catch that lesson as well. Past perfect continuous deals with earlier action continuing into until now. Let's look at an example pair. I had finished the work before he came. It's a completed action. So this is past perfect tense. I had been working, so ing form, for 2 hours before he came. I hope you understood, and I'm pretty clear here. Again, I'm telling you the same thing, to just pause the video and wrap your heads around the concept, guys, and read these sentences aloud. That is what will make you perfect. However, just let's go on and look at the next big section for today, and that is your common mistakes. All right, so incorrect sentence would, in reference to past perfect continuous, would sound like this: I had studied for the exam. No, that's incorrect. When you're looking at this tense, it should be like this: I had been studying for hours before exam. So that's missing an emphasis on duration, this particular sentence. She had lived in Paris. She had been living in Paris. This has to come. She had been living in Paris has to come when you are kind of looking at the past perfect continuous tense as your selection. All right, they had worked. No, they had been working. All right, again, everything till here they are missing emphasis on duration. Let's look at the next sentence. I had knowing him for years. No, I had known him for years. The stative verb, in the sense, I also spoke about something known as, stative verbs when you are talking about your feelings, like knowing or liking or loving something, does not always, remember, does not take continuous form at all right. So here it is just the had, that is, the sentence does not take continuous form, because the stative verb, that is know, like, loving, etc., love, know, or the feeling, everything kind of does not take on the continuous form. All right, let's look at a second example for the same purpose. She had believing in ghosts. No, believe, believe again is a stative verb, like something that someone believes in. So they don't take the ing form, they take only the ed form. She had believed in ghosts. All right, great. So a micro conversation for today is late arrival is the situation for today. All right, let's look at a person talking about or asking someone, why were you so tired yesterday? Now the person B says, because I had been traveling for 6 hours before I reached home. All right, makes sense, I guess, by now that this guy was traveling for 6 hours. So he will tell this person asking him that because I had been traveling for 6 hours before I reached home. That's the reason I was so tired yesterday. Oh, wow. Had you been driving alone? Again, the question is in the same format, that is the past perfect continuous. Please kind of pause the video and relate with that as well, because I already explained a lot many times before. Now, the person B says, yes, I had been driving continuously. Driving, drive in the ing form. Okay. Let's look at the practice ladder for today. All right. It has got certain blank spaces for you to fill up. So this is your job, all right? This is your job. You really need to do this, because otherwise there is no way that you are kind of going to go ahead and understand this particular tense, or all the perfect tenses have to be paused within the lesson itself, and you have to do this practice session all by yourself. Okay, so I had been dash for dash before dash. Just fill in whatever you feel like, with whatever you feel like, whatever words you are comfortable with. She had been dash since dash before dash. Okay, just remember, for is used for a longer time, since is used where your activity is starting, all right, in the morning or in the evening or at breakfast, lunch, dinner, or whatever it is. They had been dash for a long for long before dash. Had you been dash before dash? By the time I reached, they had been blank for blank. So basically, I you can just scroll up and try to relate with any of these sentences. There are many examples that I just gave you. All right, many examples that I just gave you. This part is to be done only by you. That is the reason I'm not giving out any answers. Otherwise, it's of no use. All right. So you kind of have to go ahead and try to wrap your heads around this concept of doing it on your own. Now, guided practice session in the sense wherein you're looking at converting these sentences. Combine this, that is, I studied for 2 hours, then you called. And when you combine, it sounds like this. What truly I want to do is, here at this part, I have given you the answers. You can pause the video and read this aloud. Convert, I was working, meeting started. So convert this, and this is your answer pretty much. So read it aloud. Okay. Make a negative sentence. He had been waiting. Just add a not. That is all it is. He had not been waiting. Okay. Now, step three is your free speaking session, which is pretty much personalized. Here, I want you to make your own lines, saying that, whatever you have done in real time in your life. I had been dash for dash before I dash. Okay. By the time I blank blank had been a blank. All right, and one line with result, one line with by the time, and one line with duration. I had been blank, that's why I was blank. Okay, so this again has to be done on your own, by your own, on your own. All right, so a 40-second speaking task: tell a small story using past perfect continuous. That is the model answer that I have kind of got ahead for you here. You can just see the screen, the one that I'm trying to highlight. Yes, this is a model answer. Please again pause the video, read the model answer, and make your own sentences, guys. All these lines, okay, all these lines that I have curated here, this is in past perfect continuous, this is also in past perfect continuous. Okay, This also is in the past perfect continuous tense, and there is a mixture of your simple past as well here in this particular highlighted section. A self check is, you need to ask yourself, did I use had been and a verb in the ing form? Then yes, you are at the right path. Did I show a duration before another past action? A very important point to keep in mind, whether when you're using PPC, that is past perfect continuous. Now, did I use words like for and since? Then yes, you are on the right track of using past perfect continuous as your tense. Now, kind of giving you a quick recap is that use past perfect continuous to show a long action for a duration before another action kind of interrupts this long standing action. Only then you're looking at using past perfect continuous. Otherwise, it is simple past or past perfect only. Now, the next related tense we will be talking about is future simple or simple future, start of our future tenses. A, a small call to action before I leave for today is write 3 lines using I had been. Use words like for, before, and practice these sentences, whatever you write, aloud. Now, if you're learning with us on YouTube, guys, this lesson is a part of a free grammar series. If you want guided practice and step by step confidence building, you can join us through the free course link in the description. Remember, start free, continue only when you are ready. Now, thank you so much for tuning in today. Have a great day ahead.